Hello, YouTubers. Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I thought I was done in the bunker for the day, and I'm working on this little project over here. And after we're done talking, I'll give you a little tour and show you what the progress is. And for those of you that don't know, I'll show you exactly what I want to be using this for. I think it's going to come out really good. Right now, I was listening to Rich Dad Poor Dad, all right, his podcast. I started thinking about these things, and sometimes an idea comes in my head. I'm like, you know what, that's a great way to explain to people that see the shelves as being full, a great way to explain to them why they are full and why they should be preparing, because all that we are seeing is an illusion. All right. And you know what, let me have a seat. I'm going to set this up and I'm going to have a seat, and then we can have a talk instead of me standing here with my arm extended after I've already been wrenching and stuff. Right. So give me a second. I'm not sure how the light is going to come out on this, but hopefully it'll come out okay. So I was thinking, ladies and gentlemen, how can I explain to people that are still asleep? And listen, when I say to people that are still asleep, you have to understand that most people that are still asleep, most of them are not from self-induced ignorance. It is ignorance not to know what's going on. But some ignorance is self-induced, meaning that you can see the truth in front of you, but you have what is called cognitive dissonance, and you just go with it anyways. Even though you know that what you're being told is the truth, you're going to stick to your religion, right? Because you can make anything your religion. But anyways, I digress. So how can I explain to people that see the shelves as being full? And when we come out here and talk about, yeah, there's going to be a food shortage, they're like, what food shortage? I mean, I just put out a video yesterday. Actually, I put it up today, but I'm putting this video out tomorrow because, like I said, when I have a thought, I have to talk about it, because if not, it gets lost. So I just put out a video that showed Costco and how full it is of everything. How can we be going into a shortage? And here I'm starting to work on my little project here, and obviously you can see that I needed some wood, right? And here's a quick picture of the wood that I've got so far. This is the wood that I ordered for this summer's projects. Hopefully it'll get all used up. A little bit of it is from last year's that was left over. But anyways, I'm looking at this wood, and some of the wood, when you pick it up, and those of you that have built stuff before, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of the wood, when you pick it up, it's nice and dry. And some of the wood is a little heavier, even though it's the same dimension and the same dimensional lumber, i.e. 2x4 by 8 feet, right? And why is that? Well, it's because one of them has less water and one of them has more water. One of them is drier than the other. And over time, they dry out. And depending on where you have them stored or where they were stored, it depends on how fast they dry out. So they don't all weigh the exact same amount. So the point is this. The wood that I'm using right now, that I went and ordered at Lowe's here a couple of weeks ago, that wood was not manufactured the day before I purchased it. It was not within the supply system just the week before, meaning that someone didn't go out there and cut a tree and milled that 2x4 and then shipped it to Lowe's a week before I actually purchased it. It's already been in the system for months, if not longer than like 6 months to a year, possibly, right? I don't know exactly how long lumber and stuff like that is in the system. I don't know how much of a lead time it has. But my point is this. Right now, all of the food that you see on the shelves, that food was not grown last week. All of the meat that you see on the shelves, it was not grown last week. And even the produce, even that fresh produce that you think is fresh, it's really not fresh. Let's take, for example, bananas. When they ship bananas to the United States, I think Brazil's one of the places that they ship them from, but I'm not 100% sure. But when they ship bananas up here, they ship them 100% green. There is no yellow on them whatsoever. And they try to protect those bananas from becoming ripened during the trip. That's why when you go to the supermarket, you'll see that bananas, when they have a new batch, they're still kind of green. And if you buy them, you have to let them sit on your counter for a few days. By the way, if you want them to ripen quickly, go ahead and stick them in a paper bag and seal that paper bag for a few days, right? The gases it releases will stay in that paper bag and will allow them to ripen quicker. But anyways, that was your little tip of the day. But like I said, when you get those bananas at the supermarket, they're still green. And you have to put them on your counter for a few days so that they can ripen up. Meaning that all of the food that we see in our supermarket didn't just appear there overnight, wasn't just produced there overnight. Why is there a surplus of stuff right now in the stores? And when I say stuff, I mean stuff other than food products. Well, as I explained on that Costco video that I did, we've had barges sitting offshore for months over month, sitting there collecting dust. And finally, some of those things that, let's say, for example, Costco ordered 9 months ago, finally, they've made it in. They've been unloaded because of the lag that there was in the shipping containers and the shipping crisis and all that kind of stuff, right? So finally, they made it in. So now all of those products are there. But what's going to happen when those products, that stuff, runs out? Now, this gets us into somewhat of a geopolitical issue. Most of the stuff that we get from China, and we get imported. Even a lot of the food that we get from China, and it's imported into our nation here in the United States. So obviously here I'm talking about the United States. Have you seen how relations between the United States and China has been lately? Not even lately, for the last several years. Not very good. And what I see coming geopolitically between the United States and Russia is that not Russia, China. I'm sorry about that. China. If I've been saying Russia, I mean China. What I see coming, unfortunately, is not good for the United States. Because in my opinion, the United States needs more from China than China needs from the United States. So once that stuff runs out and China decides to invade Taiwan and the United States decides to do sanctions on China, really the people that they're going to be doing sanctions on is us. Because like I said, we need China more than China needs us. Some people may say, well, we make up a big portion of China's GDP. No, we don't, ladies and gentlemen. They don't need us. It's nice that they have us, but do you really think that they cannot replace the things they get from us with other countries that will trade with them bilaterally? Okay? So get the stuff that you're going to need now. Because sometime next year, when all of this stuff starts to go away from the shelves, I don't see the shelves being very easily replenished. And if they are replenished, it's going to be extremely expensive because we also have inflation or an inflationary crisis / market crash, whatever you want to call it, coming our way. Now let's talk about food. On the Costco video that I put up yesterday, remember one of the last things I showed you, I think it was corn and peas or green beans. When do you think that those cans of corn or the corn and peas and green beans inside those cans were grown? Do you think they were grown last week or last month or in January? Obviously not. Those are last year's, ladies and gentlemen. Those are last year's. Same thing with the meat. Why do we have such an abundance of meat? I did videos on this last year. During the time that we had floods, we lost a whole bunch of cows. Farmers or ranchers and farmers, they had to cull a large portion of their herds because they could not afford to feed them and the feed just wasn't available. So why would they feed those cows at a loss when they know that if they don't make any money, they're going to go out of business? So they called them and threw them into the market, right? And for various other reasons as well, lack of water, etc. Well, that beef that you see on the shelf right now, that pork that you see on the shelf, even that chicken, that's meat from probably the last 6 months to a year ago. Well, have you been hearing about how many chickens have been called in the United States thus far between January and present? I think over 30 million, in addition to turkeys and also around the world. But just in the United States, over 30 million chickens, turkeys have been called here in the United States because of the swine flu, I think it is. I forget, the H5N1, whatever it is. I'm not sure if it's swine flu, whatever. I think the swine flu is pigs. But you know what I mean. You know exactly what I mean, okay? And remember, for those of you that are new here, I'm just a regular guy. Not perfect. I don't know it all. I'm not the smartest person in the world. So when I make a small mistake like that, just roll with it. As long as you know what I mean, that's what it's about. It's about getting the message out. But anyways, like I said, it takes time for a rancher or a farmer to recoup their herd, be it a herd of chicken that they have to, hatch all over again and introduce into the system all over again, or be it a lamb or a cow, a heifer, whatever it may be. Well, where is that meat right now? If ranchers and farmers don't have that meat right now on the hoof, then where is it going to be next year? See, right now we do have a glut because there was a glut last year. Remember those stories that you were hearing that butchers that process cows, that dress them down and everything like that they had people on a waiting list for months and months and months? Remember that? Those are the cows that we're eating now. That is the beef that we're eating now. And that was a long time ago. So if they're not raising any beef, any lamb, the chickens may be a quicker turnaround, but mainly beef and lamb and those types of red meat, pork, if they're not raising them in the same quantities now as they were last year, then where's that meat going to be for us next year? And that's not just for meat, but it's pretty much for everything. So that's the best way that I can explain it. Why it is that you can go into the supermarket right now and the shelves seem full. It's because they are. It's because a lot of this stuff has been stuck off our shores for months, if not more than a year. And because we have a glut of cows and pork and things like that were processed last year because ranchers and farmers and such either couldn't obtain the grain or the feed to feed them, or because it was too expensive for them to feed them, or because maybe they just didn't have enough water and they were being put on restrictions and they ended up having to call those animals. So when you go to the store and you see that the shelves are full, instead of thinking about how crazy prepping channels are, or people that are on YouTube trying to warn you that there will be a crisis come next year, instead of that, do yourself a favor and stock up, because it's the only thing that's going to help you is if you stock up now. Best case scenario is that you stock up now and I'm 100% wrong and you end up saving some money, because inflation will persist. All right. That's one certainty, ladies and gentlemen. That is a certainty. Inflation will persist. So you'll end up saving some money because you got some stuff now ahead of time, whereas this time next year is going to be probably twice as much as what it is now. So do yourself a favor and stock up now that the shelves are full. That way, the next time that there's a shortage of A, B, or C, you've already got it in your pantry, right? Or in your room where you keep your other stuff besides food, and you don't have to worry about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and show you real quick. My little project is not even close to being done, but let me go ahead and show you what's going on with this. So this is going to be my new fuel shed. For those of you that have been with me for a while, you know that my current fuel shed is just a little tent, all right, with a tarp tent, all right? But this is a little hard structure fuel tent. It's really made out of plastic. I bought it at Costco's. And first of all, some of you may ask, why is it lifted so high up off the ground? Well, one thing is it helps to protect, the floor from the snow in the winter, because the snow will definitely get that high, if not higher. But I try to keep the perimeter of it, cleaned off some. All right. And under it, I have enough room to store my square 12-gallon gas cans. I can store those under there, which is even more room that I have to be able to store fuel. And what I'm going to do with this is, you can see that I've got a couple of these little pillars here. What I'm going to do, if you see here, I went ahead and put like a little header up there, I guess you can call it. I'm not very good at construction terminology, but I put a piece of wood here, all right, that's connected to a piece of wood inside, and I'll show you how I gave it some structurability. And what I'm going to do is, off of here, I'm going to build a little lean-to. I'm going to build a small lean-to off of there, which should be easy enough. And under that lean-to, I'm going to go ahead and store my 100-pound cylinders of propane. That way I don't have to worry about putting it in there, and it gives me even that much more room in there. And it gives me a gauge as to how many tanks I can hold. Because right now I have an extra, I think it's 6 tanks of propane, with the exception of what I have behind my bunker, which is 2. So I would like to get a total of 10 to 15 tanks altogether. So under this little lean-to, there's going to be my propane tanks. Now, the inside, as you can see up there, there's the header that is supporting the header that's outside, all right, which is going to support the little roof that I'm going to put on there for the lean-to. And as you can see, the way that I gave it some structural support is, first of all, I went ahead and I connected this floor to the wood platform, all right, from the floor that I put under it. I went ahead and connected it with these 2x4s, all right, on both sides. So now I can't move this. This cannot move. This is attached to the foundation right now. And then, of course, like I said, I went ahead and put my headers up there. And to give it some structural support, I went ahead and put these 2x4s from the top to the bottom. That way, when I put my roof on, connected to the outside of these, when I put on my roof, my lean-to, if there's a little bit of snow on there, there's going to be some downward pressure coming down on these 2x4s, and it'll end being spread out throughout the 2x4 that's on the bottom. Same thing on that side. And this is the only side that I did this to, because I'm not putting a lean-to on that side right there. Then once I get that done, once I get my lean-to completed, I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to build some shelves that will hold the 5-gallon cans of gasoline, and some shelves that will also hold some 20-pound propane cylinders, and then a shelf for miscellaneous oil products such as stable, such as motor oil, such as gear oil. In addition to that, I'll probably end up putting like my antifreeze, my extra antifreeze on there, my brake fluid, things like that that have to do with automotive parts. And I will have the shelves going all the way up to the top, as many as I can put in, whereas I'll put my gasoline and my fuel on the bottom 2 shelves, and then the top 2 shelves, I'll use that for my miscellaneous stuff. I might even bring my chainsaw out here. So even though this small fuel tent is going to be a little bit smaller than the one I'm using now, it's going to be a lot more efficient because it's a little taller, right? And it's just a lot more neater organized. This here is a 5x6, and the other one is a 6x6. So it's about 6 or 7 square feet smaller than the other one. But being that I'm going to be able to use the bottom part of the floor to be able to put my other gas tanks in my square gas tanks, I'm actually going to get more out of it. And with the lean-to, it's going to be a winner. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So when I get done with that, I'll show you the finished product. I'm not going to try to bore you by showing me hammering and nails and screwing in screws and stuff like that. It's just a few cuts. Literally, it's just a few cuts and a few screws and nails, and that's it. So having said that, listen, I hope you got something out of this. Get prepped up, all right? Because the things that you see on the shelf right now, they're not going to be there long. And once it runs out, I'm afraid that it's going to be very difficult to have everything restocked. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't be one of those people that is going to have to fight with someone else or beat an old lady over the head with some bathroom tissue because you forgot to stock up on it now. Have a great day, and God bless every one of you.
Hello everyone, I have here today in order to ask you one simple question. All the crazy things going on in the world, if something bad happens, if something does not go your way, and it becomes too much to take, tell me, what are you gonna do?
What you gonna do if the lights go out? If the bars on your phone go down? What you gonna do when the food in your fridge runs out?
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Ladies and gentlemen, Nutrient Survival has launched an Alaska Prepper Payday Prep Bucket, and it will be available for the month of June. When you visit the page, make sure to take a look at the nutrition tool that an independent laboratory has developed, and you will see that this bucket is 17 times more nutrient dense than the top 3 leading brands of long-term freeze-dried foods. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't only partner with Nutrient Survival because they have great people, but because Nutrient Survival is the most nutrient-dense, long-term survival freeze-dried food in the market. And it tastes great. So feed your freedom with Nutrient Survival.